Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to kick things off. By way of introduction, I'm Heidi Sachs, Product Marketing Manager at CB4. If you're unfamiliar with CB4, I'll make this quick. At CB4, we build revolutionary yet simple solutions that make the in-store experience easier and more rewarding for store teams and their customers. CB4 isn't like other retail tech because we make driving revenue crystal clear and super simple. We send on-time, location-specific, product-level recommendations each week at the speed stores need them. We're able to do this thanks to our patented AI and machine learning algorithms developed by department heads at the University of Tel Aviv. Today, we're talking with some of our partners from Festival Foods. I'm happy to welcome Sean Sanders, Vice President of Center Store, Rick Baranchik, Price Strategy Director, and Jason Jacobs, Store Director. Hi, guys. Festival Foods is more than just a grocery store. A family-owned business, currently with 33 locations across Wisconsin, Festival prides itself on developing a team of associates dedicated to providing guests with a clean store, friendly people, quality products, exceptional value, and an enjoyable shopping experience. Festival Foods and CB4's partnership is well underway, and it's one we're so excited about. We're also joined by CB4 Customer Success Manager, Ben Seldinger, who works closely with Sean, Rick, Jason, and the rest of the team. Thanks for joining us, Ben. So let's get started. Our first question is, how important is product availability to the customer experience at Festival Foods? And what role does CB4 play there?
Sounds good. I'll jump in first. I think the main thing that we take away from this one is out of stocks and product availability are easily by far our number one OSAT driver, our overall satisfaction driver. So trying to reduce the amount of out of stocks we have, identify the out of stocks we have, will always be something that we're focused on. At Festival, we have the ability where we don't want to face over holes. We don't want to leave a hole on a shelf because we believe it confuses customers or our guests.
In a store our size and products that we move, we do have operational things that happen in the store that are not always visible to the eye, to the walk around the store, to walking the aisles. So we really count on CB4 to help us find those things that may not be obvious to our employees at store level. And that helps maintain the integrity of our assortments, providing customers the products that they expect to be there time and time again.
I think that's a good point, Rick. And I'd also like to make a note that being out of stock, it's important to know that being out of stock is a little bit different than a guest saying, I can't find it, or you don't carry it in the store. And I think CB4 has helped us communicate that to our team to help identify those. We want to keep the information concise, clear, and simplified. We want to manage who gets that information, so we're not going down a rabbit trail of emails and trying to find it. So we can control some of that, but I think that's important that we continue to find simplified ways to communicate to our guests. And one of the most simplified ways there is be in stock or make it clear that we do not carry an item.
Thanks, Sean and Rick. We really love hearing about how CB4 helps Festival overcome out of stocks that affect the customer experience. Our next question is about something else that has a direct role in the customer experience in stores, which is the employee experience. Could you talk a little bit about how Festival empowers employees to keep shoppers happy?
I think healthy relationships equal a healthy business. So the more that we can engage our team in being specific in what we're looking for is a win. I'm a firm believer that knowledge brings confidence. And this app in CB4 allows our team to get knowledge and get confidence by engaging with store directors who have the ability to dial into certain aspects of the business that maybe they're not in a day-to-day aspect with. So I really like the aspect of CB4 helping us bring knowledge to our team and build their confidence. Our competitive advantage is our people and our culture. We've touched on culture a lot. And our people are the differentiators in that. We need this to be the best place to work. And if we do that, that'll become the best place to shop. It's only natural that those two go hand in hand. by allowing CB4 to help us delegate responsibility throughout the store and find gaps in our assortment or where we're missing or easy finds that we can't, it allows people to be responsible for areas of the business they maybe normally wouldn't be. And, you know, if you think of it, responsibility simply as being part of a solution. So this allows us to get our teammates engaged and be part of a solution that is providing instant impact to the bottom line.
You know, 2020 saw a lot of shoppers trying new grocers who were competing on different terms. And, you know, that extends even now as we're sort of looking at the end of the pandemic and what's going to happen moving forward. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about Festival's experience with this.
Yeah, 2020 has definitely thrown some curveballs at everybody. And it's been said that great companies are defined by two things, and that is how they solve problems and how you make decisions. And I feel CB4 allows us to create some opportunities where we have the ability to solve some problems. It gives us the knowledge to make decisions. And then if you go back to what I said earlier about confidence, and if you're getting knowledge, you're going to gain confidence. And the app has allowed us to win in that area.
Get into some of the soft benefits of CB4 and talk about the opportunity that it provides to bring operational effectiveness to the forefront, not as a gotcha moment, but as a coaching and training tool. And I think, you know, Jason working directly with, you know, employees on the floor, in the store, you know, has a lot of great examples of those deep conversations he's been able to have since we've implemented CB4. So, you know, let Jason add some color to that.
With this app, with this ability to really control what we can control, it has allowed us to actually improve our overall satisfaction score. I don't know the exact number, but I know we were hovering around the 71, 72% satisfaction mark, and we're now averaging as a company 75. And product availability really has actually shown good improvements.
How have you even gone about, you know, with those priorities in mind to keep the shelves as full as possible without overfacing them? How have you maneuvered that supply chain volatility to facilitate the best guest experience that you can?
What CB4 helped us with in that regard is when something maybe was displaced or let's say missing from the shelf, it wasn't where it was supposed to be, CB4 helped us understand that, you know, we need to look a little deeper into this issue and maybe not just wait for the supply chain to catch up, but, you know, maybe there's something we need to do to follow up with a vendor, with a supplier to get the store back to where it needed to be. So, you know, I think it did help us definitely solve some problems that we otherwise wouldn't have seen.
So I want to rewind back a little bit and sort of think about when you decided to partner with CB4 and how you decided to do that, and specifically the types of problems that you identified then and the hopes that you had for the partnership when you signed on.
CB4 ran a pilot. I think Ben was part of that at the time. And it really showed some interesting results. And one of the key findings or an item finding that came to light during that pilot that our group of executives in the organization really found it hard to believe was a very strong and high selling item in our wine and spirits department. And the conversation around the room was, that can't be possible. And lo and behold, we went to the store and it was true. The item was not on the shelf what was supposed to be. Somebody had faced it over and it had been that way for a long period of time. So I think that was probably the one single incident or example that really opened the eyes of the organization into the potential of CB4.
So going through all of this, you know, we got the technology stood up and we, you know, promised this large offering. And then Jason, you're there day one, going through it for the first time. What were your first impressions and how did that compare to your expectations?
I think I, like probably a lot of store directors, think most things are pretty buttoned up and that you have most things under control, and you walk the aisles on a regular basis, right? And you look at your assortments, and so I was surprised to see the amount of very simple fixes. I mean, it had to be a dozen of them that were like, this tag got moved over here and you just faced over this product in front of this and they stopped ordering it. I mean, or this little piece of the barcode was missing. I know that was one of ours where it was a corner of the barcode was simply just cut off. And, in your mind, you think of these assumptive things on your part where it's like, well, my team, if they're scanning and scanned a tag and it didn't beep at them, there's no way they wouldn't order a new tag. But then you find out, well, guys, how long has this tag been like this? Oh, a month. Oh, okay, that's terrible. We didn't order a tag for a month, even though you're scanning it and it's not, oh, no, we didn't. But without that software, I could have walked by that a dozen times.
I will add from a support standpoint, Jason alluded earlier, he's got his four walls inside his stores and he thinks he's doing a good job, and he referenced the easy mistakes and how a dozen or so can pop up so easily. I look at it from a entire company standpoint with my team. And the thing that hooked me was 978 tags we found missing on our store shelves throughout the company. And that just translates to dollars immediately. And I think to be good at something, you have to measure it. If you're just going off feel, it's just your gut. It's not a thing. But I'm a believer in measuring, and I think CB4 has allowed us to measure where we're not hitting on all cylinders, and has identified categories or items where we have opportunity in. And the biggest takeaway from that I can say is when we had 7 stores, 12 stores, we had roughly the same amount of folks visiting those stores, and we could identify many of those by ourselves. And then or if not, we could send out an email to a group of stores and be okay. But as you grow, you can't send an email to 33 stores and say, check your Bush's beans tag to make sure it's accurate, without causing a whole cluster of communication issues in between there. So that's been a big thing. But I was hooked with CB4 by the simplicity of it. And now it's been fun to get others engaged at the support office level, to be engaged at store level and to ask those questions. I call it, early on, I called it a void report, a real just simplified void report where we used to run category voids and make sure everyone was showing sales. Well, this does this itself and sends it down to the stores that do it. So it's simplified, it's concise, it's easy to understand. And again, it provides knowledge to people that they wouldn't know by just walking through an aisle unless they were the experts. And as you grow, you have less experts on the sales floor. They're all learning and we're all growing, and it's a good way to communicate.
It truly does take very little time to work through the recommendations from what I've seen working with the store directors. Right now we're rolling out about 25 recommendations a week. And if my memory serves me right, it's probably taking about an hour and a half per store. And that's once a week. So the time and the investment in working the recommendations is very small relative to the financial gain and the great conversations and operational fixes that take place because of that. It is probably the most beneficial time spent in the store at any one given time. Would you back that up, Jason? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, that, you, like anything, you're looking for a return on investment of your time, right? And so you could easily make the case, you find 4 or 5 tags and you get those tags generated. Investment of my time of spending with that app. I mean, how many dollars have we just recouped as a result of, to this point, a 10-minute process to get some tags printed and make sure that we get it on the next delivery? I mean, that's a pretty easy recoup and a return on investment.
I will say that you could have the very best business plan drawn up, but if it doesn't get executed in all of your stores, it's for naught. And it doesn't get the ball into the end zone, for lack of a better word. And I think that's key. If you don't have some protocols in place, business is good. That doesn't mean you just sit doing what you're doing. You find better ways to how you're going to facilitate that business, how you're going to maintain that business. And I think CB4 app has allowed us to have those conversations and get with the team. In regards to the hours investment, yes, there's an hour's investment because someone's actually doing the task. The easiest way I could convey to another retailer is every retailer has associates that are employed to assist. So the common key people that are doing this app for us are our shift managers or our assistant store managers. And when I say that, their primary job description is to assist and to help. They're not necessarily responsible for, making sure the grocery load gets stocked if you're a grocery manager, or making sure the order gets done. They're there to help. And I can't think of a better impactful way to use that hour and a half throughout the week to make an impact to the bottom line by finding something. They're there anyways. They're going to help something else. Now you could say they're facing up an aisle or building a display. Well, that's going to happen regardless at some point, but finding the tags that fall off and then multiplying that by the amount of stores and the amount of tags, it's going to create impact. And it's as simple. It's simplified as Jason mentioned. It could be as simple as the floor buffer blew the tag off the shelf. It happens. And if you're not measuring that or finding ways to find that without walking up every aisle, we can't get to 33 stores from a support office team and look at every item in every aisle like we used to when we had a handful of stores. So how do you combat that? I think the app helps generate that. And I look forward to the next steps of when we start adding a few more recommendation and tasks to everything.
Yeah, I'll jump back in just for a second and say that, I think Sean said it very well when it comes to a time investment. At the end of the day, store director's job or a store leadership's job is to be walking and engaging with your department leaders anyway, right? And store walks for us is, part of our culture. Like, we take a lot of pride in the store walks that we do. It's part of the engagement process that we have with our department managers. My job is on a daily basis to just walk things off and have conversations with people. I mean, honestly, that's mainly what my job is to walk and talk, right? And so this is just another added thing to engage somebody on. So my point is, I'm already engaging them on probably a few different topics. It's not really that much more for me to pull this app up and say, hey, let's take a look at a few of these things. If we're walking the aisles anyway and having conversations, you're just adding this in as part of your arsenal to engage your team on anyway. So to say it's this huge extra investment, it's just making it part of your daily or your weekly routine as you're walking with department managers.
I think we've hit multiple weeks of 100% execution. And if we can execute, we can measure. And when you execute consistently, good things will happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing we can talk a little bit more, and you've touched on this, is what you were doing before CB4 to find local opportunities to sell more. Were you using traditional reporting and spreadsheets, or business intelligence, zoning, store walks? Like, how did you do this before, and how does CB4 compare? Has CB4 replaced those processes? Has it augmented and made them more effective?
I think a big plus for CB4 is it's fact-based. There, you can't argue with the data, and especially in the fresh side in our organization, we as Sean mentioned, we're fully planogrammed, we're almost fully planogrammed in our center store space. There's quite a bit of autonomy still in our fresh areas, and we're working towards standardizing more there. But in the meantime, there's a lot of urban legend or feeling or emotion about what we're carrying and what we're not carrying. Good experiences, bad experiences with things. And CB4 kind of takes the emotion out of the conversation because, here are the facts. So I think that's been a huge win in the success, especially on the fresh side.
You've explained some of those factors to me before. Maybe it's shrink, or maybe it's it's not my demographic, it's not my environment, or it's not the season. What are the other sort of factors that play into, especially with fresh, that discretionary? Am I going to have this in my assortment? Should I look at this product to investigate or not? Can you say more on that?
One of the responses, and Jason will appreciate this, is my manager doesn't like teriyaki, so therefore we don't make it. So that was a real life.
I can add to that because I was the one that wrote that, and it was I am a big believer when you come to trying to deduce a problem, right, is Occam's razor, right? The most likely and most simple reason is typically the right one. And as it relates to this, I think at times we like to believe, that every demographic's a little different, and it is to some degree, right? But at the end of the day, the teriyaki comment is largely the truth. It's largely, I don't like something, and because I don't like it, there's this false populist sense of like, if I don't like something, that means majority of people don't like it. And unfortunately, when it comes to merchandising and things like that in general, right? If you aren't giving it a full like shake, if you're not really actually trying to push something because internally you may not actually like the product very much, you're probably not going to sell it very well. And I've had countless conversations in stores, and I've run a few different stores in different roles, right? It could be something as simple as, in bakery, they have peanut squares, okay? And Manitowoc is the capital of selling peanut squares, right? And you go to a different store and they say, well, the peanut squares, people just don't buy them here. And it's want me to believe that all the peanut lovers in the state of Wisconsin moved to Manitowoc and now just want peanut squares. But nowhere else does that happen. And that's not true. The actual answer is that we haven't tried, we haven't pushed, we haven't given it a fair shake. And with CB4, the nice part of that conversation is breaking down the fact that at the end of the day, our job is to make our guests happy. Our job is to grow sales. Our job is to do that. And here's some facts that these other stores are doing that. And instead of toting that line of it doesn't work here, let's try it one more time and let's get to the real reason as to why we're not making an effort here. And having that extra ability to do that has helped me greatly, because it gives me one more piece of information to have to really try to challenge a department manager's level of thinking and to really get to an honest answer.
Great. I'm wondering then, to that point, you talked a little bit about, Jason, about sort of using CB4 to kind of facilitate conversations as you do your store walks. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about CB4 and employee engagement.
The key point when it comes to CB4 in general is if you treat it as a gotcha, you will be met with defensiveness typically, right? And there's already going to be that built in, because CB4 at certain times is asking people to do something different than what they are currently done. And so that brings change, and change can be difficult. And but as far as what CB4, especially if you make it a routine and it's more of a, let's discuss this, tell me what's really going on as to why we're not necessarily putting this in our assortment. And then figuring out ways to evaluate whether or not we should bring it into our assortment is good. It gives you one more piece of information that you may have a hunch or a suspicion on anyway. And then letting them see this is how many dollars that we potentially are missing on a weekly basis. I think that's one nice function of the app, when it shows the actual dollars missing. Because then for me, I can loop back and say, okay, let's look at this case. How many things in this case can you honestly say we're selling $350 of a week? And then having them kind of answer that question of going like, well, okay, well, tell me what you think are your bottom two selling items in this case that we could at least pull out of here and give it a shot. That's a level of back and forth discussion. And at the end of the day, the goal that we keep the same is I'm trying to grow my service case sales, or I'm trying to grow meat sales. I agree with you. Let's do that together.
From a support office standpoint, the leaders that I work with that travel to all of our locations, it's allowed them to have a high level look from a distance without having to go into a store to capture some anomalies that you're catching on the CB4 app. So that's a win in itself, because that's where you're finding the tags. That's why you're finding items that aren't on the shelf. We've worked that into our Monday routine with our directors and their assistants. They'll look at all the data on a Monday morning, take 15 minutes, for the entire company, look at some of the recommendations and help determine on some of those not so easy decisions the store has. Should I add this? Is this really the item we want? From a director level standpoint, it has allowed some engagement without having to be in a store, which I think is crucial, but this is enhancing our overall experience while catching the easy things without adding a whole lot of work to it.
And thank you so much for taking the time to like think through our questions and just be present for this today. So we really appreciate it.
I'll add, I think it's a good exercise for us as well, to remind ourselves what's important.
We're grateful for that. Keep it simple. Thank you so much.